Late Friday afternoon, I noticed my oil gauge dropped to 0. I knew I had the Bishop Original after I realized that I had blown a rear main seal. I was very confident in driving home on it. It done me very good, taking the back roads home at about a 20-mile ride, and it was great to know that I'd saved my engine. Bishop Original, I recommend it highly to any customers. On cold start engines where you would get a little rattle out of starting from the moving parts until the oil pumps up, with this Bishop Original, it coats to the parts, moving parts, and you have no problem with cold starts for knocking, smooth acceleration, and just a great product. And each customer that I've talked to about it, tried it, and found out that they have saved so much on fuel economy and good starts, and I've just sold it off of my shelf one behind another.
But the biggest improvement is they don't have this little tick, 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 tick when you start these engines, and they don't have the noise downstairs in these little four-cylinder engines that are in the front-wheel drive vehicles. It definitely will quiet this engine down, and it does take care of the friction in there. I know this, I've seen it happen right in front of our eyes by putting it in and just listening to them run. We recommend this for long-range operations. People that put it in their cars should consider, after this application, to run 100,000 miles without putting any more in, as long as they change their oil and keep the service to their vehicle like they should. 100,000 miles, not unreasonable at all, and it does do the job. Another plus for this product, if you look at this fuel injection system here on this car, how clean it is. The majority of the systems that you look at in an automobile that have not been cleaned recently would be tan, brown, dark. This system is light, there's no wax buildup or anything on it, and of course this is all related back to the fact that we put the upper lubricant in there in the Bishop's Original. And this vehicle at 75,000 miles, this looks like it had maybe just come from the factory. It's nice and clean. And this has not been cleaned. It has not been cleaned other than the Bishop's Original used in the engine.
Since I put Bishop's Original product in my truck, especially using the upper cylinder lubricant, I noticed an increase in fuel mileage. We were getting 17.5 miles before, and now we're getting 23. One thing that interests me was the economics, because we don't have to change add this product every time I change the oil. We can go oil change after oil change, even up to the recommended 100,000 miles, and still we know that our engine is still protected in case we get oil loss.
I run a fleet of high-speed response towboats for emergencies on the bay and the surrounding rivers. We depend very heavily on our machinery, and I have acquaintances in the aeronautical field, and when I learned that the Bishop's treatment products were approved FAA, that certainly piqued my interest and intrigued me. With further research that we're planning to, we're running the Bishops in all of our gear trains, and we're treating our engines for it, because the heats and the serious conditions we run under, we need every advantage we can get. This boat I depend on night and day. I have no reason to not respond when I have a person that my clients are not interested in reasons why I can't come.
Well, we treated the engine because we didn't want it to wear out again. We rebuilt this engine a couple of years ago, and we treated it with the engine treatment, and also we treated the gearboxes, all the gear cases with Bishop's Original product. And we also use the gun grease on all of our tracks, and we grease the bucket and into the boom. In fact, we grease everything on this crane with Bishop's Original product, because basically we don't want it to wear out. It's a severe abrasive situation in which we work in a saltwater atmosphere, and we also like the spray lube, because you can spray it on the cables and stuff, and it keeps it from rusting. Best product that we ever found for that. And last summer we tore the machine apart, and we had all the gears and the shafts and the bearings out on the tracks. And in this saltwater atmosphere, after you wash something up, it normally rusts in one day. And these parts laid out on the track for probably 4 months. and we noticed no rust at all on it. So that proves to us that it makes a permanent coating on all of your internal stuff. And also we treat all of our cars and our trucks, and I even treat my lawnmower and my garden tractor and my farm tractor and dump trucks. We have everything completely treated with Bishop's Original products. A lot of my equipment is old equipment, but we still, even though it's got thousands of hours on it, we treat it anyway because we want it to last that much longer. We use this BOP grease on these rollers on this machine because we're walking in muddy and sand and dirt and saltwater conditions. And we know with a permanent bonded effect, even if we walk in salt water, it's not going to hurt our tracks.
Bishop's Original products, and so we put it in our engine, and a couple months later, well, it happened twice. We lost all the oil out of the engine twice, and we didn't realize it until we happened to glance down, and the oil pressure was 0. So, you know, we got towed, and we just turned the engine off and come in the creek. Normally, when we lose oil, you're talking a major overhaul, and both times the engine was fine. And then a couple months after that, something happened to the engine where some water got in it, and it'd been a rod, and they looked at the main bearings and checked the pistons and liners over, and they're like brand new, just like nothing had ever happened. And then we started using the products on everything. I mean, I use the grease to grease my bearings for my mechanical equipment, and I have fewer breakdowns there. I have a chain that I have to use that runs my clam heister. Normally we go through about 3 or 4 of those a year, and I've had one on there for 9 months now, and it looks like brand new. I just spray it about once a week, once every other week. And also one of the turbos was stuck, and I mean it was froze shut, froze solid. We were gonna have to buy a new turbo, and they decided to get the can of Bishop's Original out and spray it in it and thought maybe they could free it up, and they kept working with it and freed it up, and it's been fine ever since. That was a year ago, so it saved my engine twice. It probably saved me $4,000 there in overhaul costs, and then the turbo would have been another $600. So about the last couple of years, it saved us about $5,000 in repair costs, not to mention the time we would have lost.
So we got it for the transmission, got it for the Rios, both the Rios, power steering and the engine. Treated everything all at one time. See, before I treated the transmission, it would always scrape gears. I'd have to double clutch it and everything, but I don't have to do that no more. The Rios would run hot. Since I put the Bishop's Original in there, I didn't have to worry about temperature no more. It never would move off. It runs like 140 degrees, and it's under 140 degrees all the time. Before, they run like 160, 165 degrees. And now they don't even move, just down at the bottom. They don't move at all. The transmission used to run 320 degrees on a hard pull, like Sandstone Mountain or over there in Donna, over in California, anything like that there. Now it only runs like 228. Because they say they ain't gonna run no lower than that, you know, because they don't have a pump in it, you know, no cooler or nothing on it. It's a 13-speed transmission. And the engine, I haven't had no problem with nothing. I've got it in the power steering pump and everything. I had an axle seal go out, and it threw oil from here, from all down inside this frame, covered all the back of the truck up, all over the fuel tank. Run all the oil out of the rear end. I drove it all the way from Philadelphia all the way to Newport News and no oil in it. Bishop's Original has saved me $8,000 between this truck and my boat. It saved me $3,000 a year, saved me $5,000 in my boat, which I wouldn't have it if it wasn't for the Bishop's Original. I'm a sole believer in it.
We put quite a bit of flying time on our engines, and since using Bishop's Original, I've noticed an improvement in my engine, and saves me quite a bit of money on sticking valves. We used to have sticking valves, was a major problem in years past, and since using Bishop's Original, I have no problem.
Flying out of the Chesapeake Bay area along the eastern seaboard, we put from 12 to 1,500 hours a season on these light aircraft engines. Prior to 1994, we've been having considerable problems with valve guide wear, overheating, and stresses in the cylinders. In 1994, I put a new engine on this aircraft and started off with Bishop's Original oil treatment. I've flown the aircraft for 3,000 hours now, pulled the cylinders, and had less than 1,000th wear on the cylinder bore. Along that same line, I've noticed an increase in fuel economy and a decrease in the temperature. This winter we pulled the cylinders off the engine and checked them and bore scoped and all that and mic'd them out, and they had with less than 1/1000th of a wear on the cylinders, which still puts them within factory new specifications. And this is almost seems impossible for an engine to run 3,000 hours and have no more wear than what it did have on it.
Well, what I've noticed in using the Bishops in aircraft, 7 aircraft that I'm familiar with that we've worked with, 5 of which I fly on a regular basis, is that consistently after starting using the product, the oil temperature dropped on the airplanes anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees. This impressed me with the fact that for that to happen, there had to be less friction in there. We've started using airplanes. I'm also in the automobile restoration business, and we're now using it in our own vehicles here at the shop, as well as some customers now that have purchased the product from us and are using it, and also experiencing good results with it there as well.
Okay, I take and run enduro races over here at Langley Speedway. They're 125 laps each, and pretty much it's an endurance test for cars. I've always had a problem with getting in the corner so hard that the oil washes away from the oil pickup screen, causing my bearings to scuff. And after talking to my Bishop's representative about his product, he assured me that would probably take care of the problem. So we tried it in the race car, and we took and run it for about 2 more races after that, and seemed to do real good. Didn't have any problems with the motors coming apart. And then the 3rd race out, I had somebody else in the car, and they ran about 80, 90 laps of the race, and all of a sudden, I was sitting on the stands, by the way, watching this, and the gentleman kept running around there, and about lap 80 or 90, all of a sudden the oil light started flickering on the dash. See, I run a big old 3-inch red light in the dash, so when the oil light comes on, you know exactly what's going on. Well, anyway, he sat there and ran the rest of the race, which, like I say, is 125 laps, so he went 25 laps with no oil at all in the car, red light on just as steady as could be. By the time the race is over and I got down to the pits, the driver climbed out, apologized for blowing the motor up because he just knew he blew it up, which I was pretty sure he had too. But anyway, we had some oil there, so we went ahead and added the oil into the car. And kind of surprisingly enough, all of a sudden it started quieting down right away. And like I say, by the time we got her loaded up on the trailer, drove it out, put it on the trailer, all the noise was gone, the motor was running fine. Took and went and run her 4 more races, and to this day, that same motor, without any new bearings or nothing, is still racing out to Langley doing 125 laps. In fact, it's getting ready to go again this weekend.